Today we are going to talk about Rahu and Ketu. Rahu and Ketu are said to be the enigmatic planets, and most of the time very feared by all of us, rightly so at times, because placed in very wrong kind of houses or bad houses, if the placements are not good, they can create havoc in our lives. But do they always create havoc? Not necessarily so. They try to tell us a lot of things, especially if you look back into our videos that we have made about Rahu creating worries in life and Ketu sometimes causing hindrance. I recap here to say that Rahu is a planet, or rather a chaya graha, a shadowy point, which tells us that we need to move forward. We need to get out of our fears. We need to break certain barriers. And once having broken those barriers, moved ahead in our work, those fears turn into draws, and we move ahead free of many such imaginations in our lives. Ketu, on the other hand, is sometimes the strongest point that we have, but we know that our strongest points at times can be our weakest links also. So Ketu also tries to tell us that we need to look into the other side, that is the side that is Rahu, and at times let go of what Ketu represents, especially if it's in a fixed sign for us. Now, if Rahu at one point tells us that we need to look out, look beyond, how would it help us to look beyond? The places where it can help us to look beyond, as all classics state, is that if they are in trine or an angle, then they themselves become Rajyo, and the native attains big name and fame. This is a common sentence, this is a common phrase, this is a common shloka that we'll find across the classics, be it Uttar Kalamrit, be it Fal Dibika, be it Laghu Parasari, be it Jatak Parijat or Bhavat Ratnakar, any number of classics hold that point. Rahu and Ketu are not planets. They're shadowy planets. They're just points of intersection of the ecliptic of the earth when it rotates around the sun, and the eclipse of moon, the path of the moon that it takes to rotate around the earth. Then how does it create? It creates a beautiful reaction action that we are going to learn in a Rahu Ketu course coming up in the month of August. Moving on to how does Rahu and Ketu create, how do they create this kind of beautiful times for us? How do they bring in prosperity in our lives? They bring in prosperity in their periods of dasha, antardasha, pratyantar, and the smaller ones. But for that, one has to be persistent in their work, undergo probably a turmoil, a change, let go of that fear. Also, if Rahu is in a kendra, that is 1, 4, 7, and 10, or if it is in trine, that is in 5, 9, or 1, Ketu also can take the similar positions. Not necessarily, if Rahu is in 9th house, Ketu would be in such a case in the 3rd house. But if Ketu is in the 3rd house, Rahu will be, Ketu is in the 9th house, Rahu will be in the 3rd house. So if either of them are well placed in their dashas, they will give us good periods, they'll give us good times. The fact is that these planets, if the dispositor is also well placed, if the dispositor is also very strong in a particular chart, also in the D1 or a divisional chart, we'll see that during their times, they bring in prosperity to the chart as a whole, and that particular divisional chart also rises up exponentially. Let us take a few examples. The first example that I take is that of the Indian actress Nutan. She was one of those trailblazers who created a sensation with the number of awards that she won. Was something unheard of by an actress during her times, but she set a record which was later broken by her own niece. So we see that for her, Rahu is placed in the 4th house. This Rahu's dispositor, Rashi dispositor, is Jupiter. Jupiter is retrograde and placed for her in the 3rd house. And it is aspected, it is with the 11th Lord Moon. It is aspected by Sun, Mars, Mercury, and Venus. Of the 4 planets which aspects Jupiter and Moon, Mercury and Venus are benefics, and Mars owns the 3rd house. And we know that when a planet owns a certain house, it always brings prosperity to that house. So Jupiter as such is well aspected, and it also brings prosperity to the house that it is in and the house that it owns. And Rahu, for being placed in the house of Jupiter and in the 4th house, again a Kendra, is in a very beautiful and solid position in 2 ways. One, it is in a Kendra, which is the 4th house, and second, it is in the, its dispositor is very well placed. As we move ahead, we see that Rahu is also aspected by Mars, which is the 3rd lord of creativity and 8th lord of transformation. Rahu is transformation personified, sudden transformations for that matter. Now, having done this analysis, let us see when this Rahu would give us a good results into what period. But before that, where is Rahu sitting? In which nakshatra? Rahu is sitting in the nakshatra of Mula, the Vimshotri Dasha Lord, because we want to know the periods in which that Rahu would be active, is Ketu. And Ketu again is sitting in the 10th house, well disposited. So both these planets have the propensity to give a good and a great result. When we look into her chart and when we see Mercury Dasha, again, Mercury is the 10th lord of the chart, retrograde in the 9th house with the 9th lord, good period Mercury as it is, and Rahu again will give a good period. So Mercury and Rahu together got her one of the biggest breaks of her life. In fact, the first big break of her life, when she worked in a movie and she won her first Filmfare Award as the best actress, and beyond that was no looking back for her. She moved on to do more beautiful movies after that, and she created a name and fame and a standing in society for her after that. We move on to the chart of Robin Williams. In the chart of Robin Williams, Rahu is placed in the 5th house with Moon, the 10th lord. Rahu said as the Lagna is Virgo, as the Lagna is Libra, and Rahu in the 5th house would denote the sign of Aquarius. Rahu is said to be the co-owner of Aquarius. And being the 5th lord with the 10th lord is a very beautiful thing in itself, because it makes a person, gives a person a Rajyog. So as it is, being in a trine is a Rajyog with the 10th lord is again a thing of beauty. I have seen if it's in the 6th house again with the 11th lord, this Rahu would have created havoc in the life of the person concerned. But again, it is in the 5th house with the 10th lord, beauty as you can talk about. Rahu is in its own nakshatra of Sadhish, which talks about discipline, which talks about achievements, which talks about being resourceful, extremely knowledgeable and watchful. All the qualities that Robin Williams had. Now, Robin Williams, Rahu's another co-lord, if you can say, is Saturn, and Saturn is in the 12th house, which may seem to be a dicey position, but Saturn is the karaka of the 12th house. It is also about spreading, doing selfless work, and Robin Williams is said to have done a lot of charities without letting people know. So here his Saturn is also a good planet, albeit the goodness of the 5th house is a little bit toned down. But if you look into the D10 chart, in the D10 chart, Rahu for Robin Williams is placed in the 4th house, and it is with the 4th lord. So it again creates a very strong impact. Here in this case, Rahu is the 11th lord of gains. 4th house is the house that connects us to the masses. When we talk about the 5th house is the house that puts us on a celebrity status, and it also gives us the ability to use the virtual medium. The 5th house is all about creativity. It is all about being on the social medium, that is the art, craft, your ability to publish yourself as a beautiful artist on the TV, on any other platform, and Rahu is the virtual media. Robin Williams played a great artist throughout his life, and his movies, Mrs. Doubtfire, Popeye the Sailor, were all very well known. And we see it as a very beautiful reflection in the D10 chart also. It was a chart of struggle. It created he had to put in a lot of effort, but nevertheless, with his grit and determination, he succeeded in becoming one of the greatest artist comedians of his time. And we see that it is during this Rahu Pratyantar Dasha that where there was Saturn Mahadasha, Venus Antardasha. Venus in the D10 chart is posited with Ketu, and even in his D1 chart, Venus is posited with Ketu, has the powers to give results along with Ketu. And Rahu Antardasha, we find that he ended up starring in that movie Popeye the Sailor Man, and that was the time when he started an upward ascent in the world of the Hollywood stars and in the world of cinema, never to look back again. So we see that Rahu and Ketu placed in powerful positions, be it the Kendra or the Trine and many other such positions, especially if it reflects very beautifully in a particular divisional chart, enhance the quality of that divisional chart as they become powerful Raj Yogakarakas. Do stay in tune with us, because we have a course on Rahu and Ketu coming up in the month of August. So if you're interested, do enroll from the website directly or write to us through the WhatsApp. Till we meet with you again, please hit the bell icon for fresh updates. Don't forget to like, share, and comment on the videos, and please subscribe to our channel.